Hey everyone, today I have the new Sony ZV-E10 in my hands, which is a 24.2 megapixel APS-C camera, and we're going to be taking this camera out in the field to see how it performs in the real world. We're going to be testing some important features such as the autofocus, photo and video quality with a few different lenses. We're going to be testing the microphone, doing a low light test, and a bunch of other stuff. The first thing I want to start with is a autofocus test in stills mode. The ZV-E10 has 425 points of phase detection and 425 contrast detection areas. As you can see from these examples, regardless of what lens you have on the camera, we have reliable, fast, and accurate autofocus that we are all used to with Sony cameras. It's just super sticky on our subject. This camera has human and animal IAF in stills mode and only human IAF in video mode. On the G20 with a moving subject, we managed to get 19 out of 21 photos with critical focus. The focus accuracy from my personal experience is pretty similar to the A6600. Next, we're going to test the subject tracking in video mode with some 4K footage from the ZV-E10. All these autofocus tests, including the photo ones, are done in continuous autofocus with IAF switched on and a wide focus point to make sure we're getting the camera to do all the work to see its performance. We also have the same defocus button as the ZV-1 and the same product showcase button available as well. I also wanted to mention that while Sony Australia did get this camera in my hands early so I could make this review, this video is not sponsored by them, so they don't ask me to say anything, they don't review the video before I post it, so all thoughts and opinions are completely my own. Before we move on to checking out the photo and video image quality, I wanted to take a look at the actual camera body. So this camera is part of Sony's ZV compact range, and one of the best features they've made available with this camera, and personally one of my favorite things about it, is that it has an interchangeable lens mount. So instead of having a fixed lens on a compact camera like the ZV-1, which can pigeonhole you into only using that camera for vlogging, you can now have a compact zoom lens to vlog with, but still be able to bring along your larger lenses or full frame E-mount lenses to be able to capture photos or video. This camera reminds me a lot of the A6600 in terms of features. The main difference is that it is smaller, it has a side flippy screen, no IBIS, no viewfinder, and weight that resembles closer to the ZV-1 than a typical mirrorless. It's great to see that even though Sony is making this camera as compact as possible, we do have the standard stereo mic in, stereo audio out, USB-C, micro HDMI, and digital hot shoe. With this camera, I also had to pull out our good old A7S 1 and 2 battery box since the ZV-E10 takes FW50s. All the batteries I have for this camera, Dan has very heavily used for video on the A7S series over the years, so unfortunately, I'm not going to comment on battery life with this camera as I don't have a brand new battery on hand to properly test it. However, there is no 30-minute record limit, and I managed to film over an hour of continuous footage in 4K with no camera issues. When you are recording video, it has a tally light at the front of the camera, and you can also turn on a record indicator, which brings up a red border around your screen to make sure you really know you're recording. I have some portraits I took on the A6600 with the E35mm f1.8, and I happen to have that lens here with me now, so Dan and I tried to recreate some of the photos with the same lighting conditions and camera settings so we can take a look at the image quality side by side. I also have the A7R4 with me, so we took another photo in crop mode to show you what each of the photos look like. I have some photo examples to show you taken on a few different lenses, including a kit lens, some budget lenses, G lenses, and my favorite GM 35 f1.4. Since this is a pre-production camera, I only have access to JPEGs at the moment, so these are unedited JPEG files straight from the camera, unless I say so in the text. By the way, if you wanted to download a gallery of some of these shots in high resolution to just take a look at them for yourself, I'll leave a link to my blog in the description where you can find that folder to download. But basically, from these results, it looks like we essentially have an APS-C camera like the A6600, but in the small form of a compact camera. In terms of video quality, Dan filmed some handheld shots with image stabilization on, with a few different lenses, which I will label for you guys while I show you the footage. This camera only films 25 or 30p in 4K, just like the majority of Sony cameras. You have the option to film in 25 or 30 and 50 or 60p in 1080 HD. You can also film 100 or 120 FPS in 1080 HD as well, but with a slight crop, just like S&Q mode, which shoots up to 120 FPS straight to a 25p file. So in terms of video, we don't really have anything new on the file format side of things. It records the same 420 8-bit H.264 files as most other Sony cameras, but as you can see from the footage, we still have some really solid video quality. I have a comparison between the ZV-E10 versus the A7C versus the A7R4 versus the A7S III, so you can see the video footage from these different cameras. Personally, the A7S III looks the best to me, but price-wise, you could probably buy about 6 of these ZV-E10s for the price of one A7S III. The colors look great in standard picture profile, especially with G and GM glass, and all the video footage I'm sharing with you guys in today's video has been shot in standard picture profile with no tweaks or editing. There is no Cinetone with this camera, which is to be expected at this price point, but there still is the option of S-Log. So I'm currently vlogging on the E10-18 F4 lens, which is a great lens for vlogging on an APS-C camera body. As you can see, even with me holding the camera itself without a Joby or an extra tripod or anything, you can still see a lot of my face, body, and heaps of the background as well. And I don't even have my arm fully extended. So that's what it would look like fully extended. Obviously it would look better if I have a Joby, but yeah, you get the idea of what that would look like. This camera doesn't have a mechanical IBIS like the A6600, but it does have steady shot for video like the ZV-1. Here's what it looks like when it's off. The second option we have is standard. This is optical steady shot and will be unavailable unless you're using an optically stabilized lens. Finally, we have active, which is digital stabilization and works with any lens. I did notice a significant crop on active stabilization. So I'm currently filming on the ZV-E10 outdoors without the windshield. So this is the mic straight from the camera, no audio editing whatsoever, so you guys can hear what it sounds like. It is quite windy today, so this is going to be a very good test. So I've popped on the windshield to the inbuilt microphone of the ZV-E10, and now this is what it sounds like. Again, it's super windy. You can see my hair flying around in the shot, and I've also tucked it into my jacket so it doesn't just like cover my face while we're doing this test. And now to show you guys a quick transition, I'm going to cut from the inbuilt microphone of the ZV-E10 to the lav mic that I'm wearing so you guys can hear the differences. And I'm just going to keep talking a little bit so you can have a second to listen to that audio from the lav mic. So now I've switched over to an external microphone. I'm using the Rode Video Micro, and I really like using this microphone for vlogging because it is proportionate in size to compact cameras. So it doesn't look super ridiculous on the top of the camera, and this is what the audio sounds like. Again, the audio tests you just heard are straight out of the camera. They're not mixed and mastered like the rest of this video. Last but not least, the final thing I want to test out is the low light capabilities to see how far we can push the ISO to still get usable video and photo. We have the same ISO options as the A6600. I'm only going to test it up to the native ISO 32,000 since you can use expanded ISO up to 51,200 in photo but not in video. The noise doesn't look too bad at all throughout all the ISOs, however, I did notice it wasn't focusing as accurately from about ISO 5000 and onwards. I also had noise reduction on. Since this is a consumer content creator camera, I feel like this is how the camera would most commonly be used, plus it's on by default out of the box. In photo, I found that I had clean, sharp images up to ISO 2000. From there, the noise starts to become more noticeable, but I don't think it looks bad. We start to lose a little bit of image sharpness from ISO 4000, then lose even more sharpness from around 8000 onwards. So that is all I have for today's real-world review of the Sony ZV-E10. I'd love to know what you guys think of the camera in the comments and what you thought of the review as well. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I make new videos every single week, so I will see you all next time. Bye!